Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Financial Lit Podcast, your source for next generation financial literacy. And let me give you a piece of advice. A billionaire once told me, success and convenience don't hang out together. Let's get into it. Hey, everybody. There's never been a better time for financial education than today. The world around us is in turmoil. Things are kind of crumbling as we speak, and that's the perfect time for you to grow, get into a high growth mindset, and do the little actions every single day that will add up to your financial future, your financial literacy, and you building sustainable cash flow for you and your family. So there's actually a few ways we can get into this, but first and foremost, the absolute biggest thing that you need to do is have a positive mentality. Mentality is huge here. If you simply learn to think right, you can double your money. Very simple. And it all starts with the mentality. I got 5 things we can dive into to see where your mentality is and see where your adjustments need to be made so that you can get your mentality on the right track to reach your goals. Let's get into it. Number 1, income. How do you derive your income? What do you do every single day when you get up? Where are you putting your 40 hours in, 50, 60, maybe 80 hours in? Are you working for an employer? Are you an employee? Are you a small business owner? Maybe you're an entrepreneur. Maybe you have assets that are paying you already and you're just creating cash flow and leveraging those to create more cash flow. Everybody's in a different spot. And it really just depends on what your level of financial literacy is for your ability to grasp, understand, and implement these concepts in your life. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to teach you guys exactly what it is and what it takes to get these things done. So what you need to know is if you have an income of some sort from an employee model and you're trading time for dollars for somebody else's dream, that's okay. Not everybody's going to be an entrepreneur. Not everybody has the mentality or the mindset or the drive to go out there and be in business for themselves or by themselves. So we understand this. And the best way for an employee mindset person to be able to double their money is to double down into your job. I mean, a lot of people say you need to create a side hustle or you need to do these things outside of work. But hold on. If you have a sales job, for example, where you're getting paid a base salary plus commission to reach a sales revenue number for the company you work for, it would be a lot more beneficial to just double down onto that sales job, crush quota, get into those accelerators and make more money that way than it would be to spend time learning another craft outside of work. Now, that's only if you're in the employee mentality. Obviously, if you're an entrepreneur or if you're trying to free yourself with multiple streams of cash flow, then it would make sense to start a side hustle and cultivate that side hustle until it overcame your ability to create cash flow from your employee job. And once that happens, of course, you're going to stop working for that job and you're going to dive and double down into whatever your side hustle is. And that's great. You should start as many as possible and cultivate them until they are sustainable so that you have multiple streams of cash flow. But that actually brings us to our next point. Where are your expenses? How are your expenses laid out? What do you spend money on? If you're in business, who are your vendors? How long have you been doing business with them? How much money have you spent with them? You might want to renegotiate those contracts. If you spend a lot of money there, the ROI is there, the relationship's there. You want to renegotiate everything. I mean, even if it's just your car insurance, even if it's just your homeowner's insurance or your cell phone bill, or anything that you spend money on. You want, if it's been a few years and you're a consistent patron at that business and you give them a lot of your money, walk up to them and ask them, hey, I've been doing a lot of business with you guys. I brought you guys a lot of revenue. It's time to renegotiate. What are we going to do about my prices? Because I continue to give you business and we're going to grow this relationship this way. Don't be afraid to ask. The same thing if you're at a job and you need to ask for more income, if you need to ask for a salary raise, you need to do these types of things to increase your cash flow in that aspect. Of course, you're going to double down your hard work, create a case for yourself so that you have, something to bring to the boss to justify your pay increase and then, go from there. But from these expenses, if you have, for example, a Starbucks habit and you drink $5 to $8 worth of Starbucks once or twice a day, are you really that committed to cash flow? Are you really that committed to creating sustainable wealth? In my opinion, I would say probably not. I mean, you can cut out just a few key things, and instead of consuming your coffee at that high level, you could buy a different form of coffee, you know, something a little cheaper, maybe brew it yourself. You can save in a lot of areas in your life, so that you're able to take that wealth that you're spending in these places and kind of consolidate it into a place where your net operating income is a little bit better, and you can use that to apply it towards an investment, maybe a co-investment, maybe a syndication, maybe stocks, bonds, mutual funds. You might be able to put in your 401k, whatever it is. You need to put that wealth in a place where it can create more wealth for you sustainably. And that kind of brings us to the third point. The third point is taxes. How do you mitigate taxes? How do you mitigate your taxable liability? You know, if you're an employee, you don't really have a lot of means to offset your taxable liability. If you're a small business owner, obviously you have the ability to do business expenses and write-offs at the end of the year for the growth of your business, but you're still paying taxes. Even if you get up to a big business level, 500 employees or more, you're a C Corp, you're in the 20% tax bracket. So there's, depending on where you are, you can structure your business and you can structure your taxes and your tax liabilities and your write-offs in a way that can be very beneficial to you. Saving on tax is one of the major 5 ways that you can actually create wealth. It's reducing your taxable liability. And it's like, basically it's called phantom money. If you have money that doesn't need to go out anymore and it gets to stay in your pocket, but you were having to spend it before and now you get to keep it, it's like you have more money than you had. You don't technically have more money, but you didn't have to spend it and you got to keep it. That's phantom money, phantom cash flow. And when you keep taxes that you were going to have to pay to the government, but you actually offset that taxable liability and you got to keep it, that's big time, because now you can put that towards a co-investment, an investment, a syndication, and create cash flow for you and your family. It's big time when you actually participate in the sovereign jurisdiction. You know, this kind of brings us to point 4. What you're going to be doing with this cash flow that you're creating is putting it into investments, putting it into co-investments, and major difference, right? Investments are regulated by the commercial jurisdiction. Co-investments are not. They are a parallel jurisdiction, sovereign ecclesiastical trust over here, where you can store your wealth in silver. So if you're storing your wealth in silver versus cash, first off, silver is not taxable by the federal government. Article 1, Section 10 of the U.S. Constitution. This is actual currency. It's not bullion. It's American silver eagle coins. And when you store your money in this way, this vehicle, this IVA account, a function of this vehicle is you can leverage that up to 90% LTV in the account and put it towards a syndication to acquire a piece of real estate or an asset that's going to cash flow for you. The best part is that that cash flow that comes back to you is completely on a toll-free road. We're protected by Section 26, 508c1a. We're a sovereign ecclesiastical trust. We're an FBO, faith-based organization, and we do not have to capitulate to certain regulatory bodies because we're outside that jurisdiction. So if that's something that interests you, you can save even more on tax by playing in this toll-free environment. That doesn't mean I don't recommend playing in the commercial environment as well. I recommend diversifying all over the place, depending on what your risk tolerance is, what your investment or co-investment goals are, and how much sustainable cash flow you're trying to create based on the net operating income in your life. And that net operating income is just all the money you have coming in minus all the expenses you have going out. That little bit of money you have to play with to put towards something that can create sustainable cash flow for you and your family. Well, like we've been going over, there's a bunch of ways you can create that net operating income and make it bigger, right? You can double down at work, get more income or get more commission or get a side hustle or get a co-investment or an investment going that's creating cash flow. You can actually reduce your expenses by cutting out unnecessary frivolous spending. You can, instead of getting the best brands, get sub-tier, subpar brands, for example, still good stuff, just not paying extra for the brand advertising. And you still use the things you need to use while you're hunkering down and creating this sustainable cash flow that's going to take care of you and your family for generations to come. If you can buckle down and really grind for the next 3 to 5 years towards a goal like this, you can create sustainable wealth for yourself. And once you have cash flow coming in from your real estate portfolio or your syndication portfolio, as you syndicate with us and the rest of my cash flow family, you can be free, we can be free, and we can love each other together. And number 5, last but not least, is identity. How big is your mindset, guys? What are you willing to work for? Are you willing to work for 20 grand a year? Maybe 40 grand a year? Maybe you're willing to work for 60 grand a year. Maybe it's 80. Is it 100 grand a year? Maybe you're willing to work for 500 grand a year. Maybe you're willing to work for $1 million a year. Now, I don't know where you stopped on that timeline, but somewhere along the line, you said, yeah, I'd be willing to work for that amount of money. And the reason why you're willing to work for that amount of money, you're working for that amount of money right now, however much you're getting paid for right now. That's what you're willing to work for. Now, you have the option to adjust that mindset, because your mindset is going to be your limiting factor. If you reach for the stars and you miss and you land on the moon, you're still in a really good place. But if you shoot for the moon and you don't leave the atmosphere, you're going to crash and burn. I mean, it's a stupid analogy, but you get what I mean. If you're going to want to be the best, you have to act like the best. You have to think like the best. You have to study what the best do. And if your goals are to create sustainable wealth and become financially literate, create generational wealth so that you can have cash flow in your life, pay the least amount of taxes possible, free up your time so you don't have to trade time for dollars. And if that makes sense to you, then it might be time to look into a syndication, or it might be time to look into a CPO. We give out beneficial interest units to each one of our co-vestors who co-vest into a syndication with us. And beneficial interest ownership is a lot different than stock ownership. When you own a stock, a piece of a company in the commercial jurisdiction, you're regulated by the SEC, you're regulated by the IRS, and it's just different. When you own beneficial interest in a syndication or in a cooperative procurement opportunity like a CPO, a real estate syndication, for example, you are a decentralized owner of that asset. And it's big time because it's on a toll-free road, and we can do it together. So on that note, guys, I love you. Tune in next time. Again, this has been the Financially Lit Podcast. Please like, please subscribe, please comment, please share this video with anybody that you think would resonate with this message, and let's get it.